No, not my heckin' chaotic neutral lizard folk Paladino. There we go. Okay. Got it. Anyway, so, welcome to the show. I am Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver. And I'm glad you are all here tonight, everybody. I say everybody. We're at 6,250 now, I think. But anyway, Mead has never caught the live one before. Kabuki Kid, namaste, good to see you. Popper Knight, welcome. Daniel Rowan, Michael Dale. They're not the same person. I just said them very close to each other. Daniel Rowan, comma, Michael Dale. But anyhow, I am glad you're all here, everyone. It's just kind of a laid back show tonight. So normally, let me tell you what, first of all, if you haven't already clicked the subscribe button and the bell icon for notifications, please take a hot minute to do that. It is super duper helpful. If you're watching this live stream after the fact, if you would please, if you like it, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below and tell me what you like about it. It really helps with the algorithm. If you're not enjoying it, and you're like, this is just, give it a thumbs down and leave a comment down below, and I'll figure out what to do to make you happy. But either way, please do interact. Jimmy Invictus, you had better get better. Long-time listener, first-time caller. John Todd, thank you for swinging by. But anyway, so I'm glad everybody is here. So Kyle has family stuff going on tonight, which is why he's not here, and we're doing kind of a later thing. Let me see if I can get this to download. I'll put this in. I'll put that in videos. There we go. So yeah, Kyle is out tonight. So it's just me. Daniel Rowan says, if you're not enjoying this, you're a communist. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that at all. But there's 19 of you folks out there. Now, last night we played first edition AD&D, and I know it was the first time for a lot of you folks stopping by. Jess, I'm talking about you. Listening in to the show. So thank you all very much for tuning in last night. That was a crazy episode. We had half the party scared off by a cloaker, and they ran into the waiting arms of a couple of carnivorous apes out in the front of the slaver stockade. One lone magic user fighter cleric dwarf holding his own against the cloaker, and it's been wild. It's just been absolutely wild last night. That's right, John Todd. 1E for life. The best overland adventure, Mark Morrison wants to know. You know, the I would say, because there's not a lot in 1E AD&D that is explicitly overland. So this is almost a fait accompli. But I'm going to tell you something. There are some gems. The trip between locales in the A series can be good with good DM prep. I am always impressed with the stuff you can do and the places you can go in S4 and WG4. Both of those by Gary. Great outdoor maps. Great stuff. But, it is very often overlooked because people don't think of it as outdoor or overland, but you absolutely should. You absolutely should. And that is D1, Descent into the Depths of the Earth. It is an overland adventure because you are in like a massive, like almost like a hollow. It's like journeying to the center of the earth. You know, yeah, there are caves and tunnels, but they're so huge that you're effectively outside. Pasta Lover wants it. Yeah, I did the solo dungeon generation once upon a time. There, you know what? A couple of others spring to mind. There's a great outdoor map section, where you can kind of journey around in the wilderness and keep on the borderlands. And, what else? What else? Isle of Dread. X1, Isle of Dread. Blue cover, by the way. Blue cover is the best. Kabuki Kid says she never lost her taste. Well, that's good to know. A secret, yeah, the L1 and L2 have outdoor sections. But I feel that of them, D1 is probably the best. Well, that's tough because I actually like S4 more than D1. Nah, I'm going to give it to S4. I will go S4, D1, B2. Man, you know, now that I think on it, there's a lot more outdoor stuff in AD&D. There's a lot more outdoor stuff in AD&D than I had originally thought. But yeah, there's a lot of good ones out there. There's a lot of good ones. And I say AD&D, but you know, of course, B2 and X1 are for basic and expert, respectively. But you know, your mileage may vary. So we played some AD&D last night. A lot of fun. Hello, Mage's Musings. Tonight we're just kicking it old school. We're just kicking back, kind of some open chat between me and you guys. Tomorrow night, let me tell you what, you don't want to miss tomorrow. You don't ever want to miss any night, really. But tomorrow night, one of the founders of Dungeons and Dragons, I don't mean in the ancillary sense. I mean, if you play D&D, the ridges and the curls and the bumps in Dungeons and Dragons were put there jointly by Gary's hands, by Jim Ward's hands, by Dave Arneson's hands, and by this gentleman's hands. Tomorrow night, Rob Kuntz will be right here on this live stream. Now, we did an audio check yesterday, Rob and I did, and we worked everything out. to make sure his audio would be good and that he could come in over Zoom and everything else. Let me tell you something. Rob and I started talking. Now, I'm just talking about the tiny bit of time that I have spent hanging out with Rob, which wouldn't fill an egg timer on Tatooine. That was like an expansive tale from his perspective. Like there was so much stuff that we talked about. Just had to rein it in a little bit, because I wanted to save it. I wanted to hear it with fresh ears like you guys. So Rob's going to be here. We're going to go all the way back to Rob and Terry living in Lake Geneva, almost getting adopted by Gary Gygax, all the way through to stuff he's got going on today. Don't miss it out. It is going to be a lot of fun. Am I ready to wrangle that? Absolutely. Absolutely. Jack Photon, good to see you. Jack recently coming off a wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary to you and Mrs. Photon. Robert Phillips, no, I won't. You can. You can, sir. You can do it. You be here and you ask, and he'll answer. He'll tell you. So that's all happening tomorrow. We're starting, I think I said 8. I'll confirm it with Rob. You guys will know. You guys will know. Dave Synth 74. Good to see you. So fear not that it's like, oh, we're not going to know till the 11th. No. But I don't know how long it's going to go. First of all, it's going to be at like 2:00 in the morning for poor Rob. All right. He lives in Corsica. All right. Dude's a few hours out from us. So, yeah, it's going to be, I'm not going to make him sit up till like 4 or 5 in the morning or anything like that. It's not going to be like my live streams with Ty Beard or when we have had Dave LaForce on the show or anything like that. But anyhow, so yeah, it's going to be a pretty wild ride. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you guys are too. So that's happening. Sorry, that's happening tomorrow. And that is it's going to be epic. Now Friday it's also going to be fun because we're going to be playing some Gamma World. Now, Saturday, guys, I want to tell you about what's going to be happening Saturday because this is big. There's an announcement Saturday. I'm not going to spoil it yet. You're going to have to be here on Saturday. It is Gygax Day on Saturday. So Saturday evening, we're going to be, Saturday day, I'm going to the movies. We're going to go to the Deadpool Wolverine movie. But Saturday night, I'm going to roll up a character. And then I'm going to talk to you guys about something super duper important. You're going to want to be here. So don't miss Saturday's live stream, or else you will have missed something. Now, it might not pertain to you. I hope it does pertain to you in a way, because it'll be important. It'll be important. Um, that's all I really want to tell about it. Does he have a course? No, I don't think so, Robert. Last Saturday, you're running your own. Well, you'll. You know what? This is one I definitely recommend if you can't be here for Saturday, you watch the the afterwards. So definitely watch that. Christopher Sims, happy birthday in advance because I won't be here Sunday. I will not. I will say that what I'm going to talk about on Saturday, I will be hammering on very frequently. Playing some games. Should I buy this starter pack of Open Forge dungeon tiles? What are they? Playing some games. Let's see. Should you buy that? Um, let's have a look. See. Open Forge. Uh, I mean, sure. If you like 3D stuff out on the table, that looks pretty spiffy. Is this printed yourself like you get the STLs? No, it says 26 tiles, so yeah, it's 45 bucks for 26 tiles. Um, yeah, I mean, it looks okay. You have to paint them up yourself, but sure. They're 3D printed on Etsy. So here's the thing, playing some games, here's the thing. They're $45. Um, a filament 3D printer cost about 120 bucks. Once you get it dialed in, you are getting many more sets. Now you do have to pay for filament. That is true. You do have to pay for filament. But it's absolutely something you can do. Um, but then if you don't want to fart around with a 3D printer, that's perfectly cromulent. Let me tell you something. Before I invested in the Dwarven Forge, which you guys see, of course, in the Tuesday night game a lot. Um, I I considered getting the and I do this all the time. I've gone blank, but it was a company. They made rubber molds and would sell you the molds and dental plaster, and you could cast your own dungeon tiles. And I was like, and what I ended up doing was I really took a step back and thought about it. If I had gotten all of those molds and all of that dungeon plaster, I would probably have 5 or 6 pieces of terrain, and the molds would be gathering dust on a shelf, and the plaster would probably be spoiled by now. So that's where I was. I was basically willing to pay Dwarven Forge the fee to do my work for me because I know I'm lazy. Her starts, thank you. I always forget that. Mead. Her starts. Rubber molds, her starts. That's right. Well, silicon, but yeah. Um so I ended up not going with her starts. I just paid Dwarven Forge. Now, if you're not the kind of person that's going to be like, I want 200 tiles, I'm going to run my printer nonstop for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 days. 3D printable tiles may not be for you, and you may just want to pay somebody for the effort of printing them out for you. And that's perfectly fine. Graph Paper Architect, hello. Elvin Made In, hello to you. Somebody mentioned up the line about resin, about 3D resin. Yeah, you can't do resin tiles. Let me back up. Yes, you can make resin tiles. You can make resin tiles. It is not efficient. It becomes prohibitively expensive to do. If you go in and you throw down like 149 for a Mars 3 or something like that, you've got a build plate about this big, and you're going to get 4 tiles, and it's going to take about 4 hours to make 4 tiles. And depending on your supports and that sort of thing, it could be longer because you mess up pieces here and again. And Vincent went with Warlock. I've actually got a set of Warlock that I'm partying with to help Vincent out. Well, he's helping me out. He's buying them from me. But how are we on mobile, Graph Paper Architect? But anyhow, Engine Joe says, can you imagine how much money Hasbro would make selling G.I. Joe size Dragonlance? Given that parents don't buy toys for their kids anymore, parents that are our age, we buy the toys for ourselves to sit on shelves, probably not as much as you think. So they'd kick them up to like premium prices. I know for a fact that there were Barbie-sized Macross action figures put out by Playmates back in the 80s. I think they even had like a little, almost kind of Veritech like jet. But it was like Lin Min May's limousine. It wasn't like a fighter jet. Very strange times. Michael Connor, greetings. Good to see you. Go hug your pillow, Emmy. We love you, sweetie. Take care. Engine Joe asked me, I've never played The Immortal. I don't know that one, my friend. I know the title, but that's about all I know about it. And I will tell you this, there's not a wrong way to set your table in D&D. Battle mat and markers, big sheet of paper. Some people are like, I use a whiteboard and I've cut 1-inch squares and 1-inch grid squares into it. And, we just dry erase, and it's much better than yada yada, whatever solution. There are no bad solutions. Okay. Don't use anything. Just theater of the mind it if you want. There's no right way or wrong way. It is said in the Dungeon Master's Guide, if you choose to use figures. And that has always been my approach. Yes, Michael, I know that one. The Mac 2 monster was equally brittle. I was over at a friend's house back in the 90s. And understand, I mean, like, mid 1980s to very early 1990s, that's not a huge span of time. And I was like, this is pretty badass. And I picked it up and I tried to actuate the legs, and it snapped, and I felt terrible. I felt absolutely crushed. I was devastated. So Matt Shed, if you're out there watching somewhere, I'm sorry. Hit me up. I will 3D print you a giant Mac 2 monster in resin and send it to you. 5 got excellent graph paper. But anyway, so fun free game on Steam, Card Hunter, First Ed Feel, using cards to do stuff. Huh, neat. All right, so as I alluded to, and I'm going to do a video about this tomorrow, but I want to share this with you guys on the live stream tonight because I know there's a lot of people who watch interstitial videos and don't watch the live streams, or you watch the live streams and you don't watch the interstitial videos. So I'm actually going to share this video and my thoughts with you guys now. Although I will tell you a funny story after I do this, Michael Connor. I'm going to asterisk that, and I'm going to come back to it, your statement about Exo Squad and everything, because it shows how utterly awful Harmony Gold is/was. And I've told the story before. You may be aware of it, but some other folks might not. So let me do this. This is news out of Lake Geneva today. So we're going to see, let's see, here it is. I'm going to put my headphones on because frankly, I haven't heard this. So if this judge starts dropping a bunch of F-bombs, or council member rather, I apologize. But here we go. This is news out of Lake Geneva today. And let's just roll the clip and we'll let it speak for itself.
Number 4, awards, presentations, proclamations, and announcements. We do have one proclamation tonight. I would like to read this. This is the City of Lake Geneva proclamation. Whereas Gary Gygax grew up in Lake Geneva, lived his whole life here, and created his fame and fortune here, and most importantly, shared it with his hometown. And whereas Gary was a visionary whose ambition to share his love of games, science fiction, and fantasy would lead him along a path to create games that would change the world and create stories that would make him the best-selling author. And whereas he founded Gen Con here in 1968, now North America's largest tabletop gaming convention with 60,000 attendees. And whereas he founded his game company TSR here in 1973, employed 400 people by 1983, over 6% of Lake Geneva's population at the time. And whereas he wrote and published the world's first role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons, here in 1974, a game that has been translated into dozens of languages, played by over 50 million people worldwide. And whereas his game company would publish not only Dungeons and Dragons, but hundreds of other games loved and played by millions of people worldwide, it would become the major publisher of science fiction and fantasy, producing over 206 short stories and 360 novels, enjoyed by hundreds of millions of readers around the world. And whereas Dungeons and Dragons will celebrate its 50th anniversary in 2024. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Todd Krause, do hereby proclaim that July 27 shall henceforth be known in Lake Geneva as Gary Gygax Day.
So there we go. An official proclamation from the city of Lake Geneva. Guys who as recently as like the early 2000s, like didn't even like just like who, what? No, that company, they went away. We don't, we're golfing. Go swim in our beautiful lake. And that's it. That's what you do here, snowbirds. That's all. Now they're embracing it. So yeah, Daniel, I agree with you, but I feel like I feel like that is a a fantastic step forward there. I think that's absolutely great. Um, but yeah, so hereafter, July 27th, Gary Gygax Day, officially in Lake Geneva. And I thought that was just some absolutely awesome news. And I had to share that with you. The mics may be just too crappy to hear him. It could be clipping. I mean, I'm a guy who knows something about bad audio. Anyway, so yeah, it might have just been clipping. But Michael Dale, when Michael Dale becomes president, I've seen your Twitter post. You won't. No, I'm kidding, dude. I'm kidding. If Twitter has taught us anything, it's that you actually have a better shot. But anyhow, so yeah, there you go. July 27th, established in 2024 in Lake Geneva, Gygax Day. I am so happy I could bring you guys that news. That is very, very cool. Um, Daniel, if Brian Blessed had showed up, it just like it would still be going, like, just roaring and rolling his R's and cackling maniacally. We'd still be listening to it. So I'm pretty happy about that. I think that's fantastic. Vincent would love a national holiday, paid day off, and you're encouraged to play role playing games. I agree with you. I have some thoughts about it, but I would probably get canceled for sharing them. But I feel like it is it is a really 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 awesome thing that Lake Geneva came together and did this. That is lovely, wonderful news. And I'm super happy about that. I'm super happy about that, guys. So I hope you enjoyed that little bit of interesting front news from the front. Brian Blessed Gygax is alive. And one of the funniest stories. Okay, funny is relative. All right. Brian Blessed talked about being on set. I think it was Charlotte Rampling. She was in Flash Gordon, and he would goose her, apparently. People know Lake Geneva exists because of Gary. I'll tell you this. By and large, I don't think a lot of people would know Lake Geneva exists, but there are a few famous Lake Geneva-esque things. Robert Plant recorded an album in Lake Geneva at the hotel, at the inn. I can't remember if it was before or after it was a Playboy Club, but he did record some work in the Grand Geneva. Of course, it was a Playboy Club. That's, we know that to be true. Violent Femme's self-titled first album was recorded there, which it's a great little punk album. I like it quite a lot. Folk punk. Funk. It's a funk album. No. So, yeah. And historically, Lake Geneva was also a notorious bolt hole for gangsters looking to lay low while the heat died down in Chicago, because it's like 2 hours from Chicago. Back then it was probably more like 3 hours given the roads and stuff. But yeah, let's put Robert Plant. I agree with you, Engine Joe. Let's just, let's shoot for the moon, buy the Led Zeppelin soundtrack and put it in a D&D movie, or the Led Zeppelin catalog and put it in a D&D movie. In the trailer for the D&D movie, the most recent D&D movie, weren't they using Whole Lotta Love by Zeppelin? I think they were. It's a Polk album. Thank you. But anyhow, so yeah, I mean, would Bill Sylvie know? No. And likely none of you guys would, but I think it would have a lower F degree. Case in point, you guys know the now former YouTuber Tom Scott, right? He was always going interesting places around the world. Like I remember he went to the world's smallest skyscraper. It's a little town in Texas, and there's a building that, I'm not kidding you, is about as wide as my studio and 2 stories tall. And it's the world's biggest, smallest skyscraper or something like that in this town. Well, Tom Scott went to Lake Geneva. And when I heard, he's walking along in his typical, clipped English voice there, and he's talking about, I'm here in Lake Geneva. And I was like, oh, cool. He's going to talk about D&D. No, he was there talking about the lake mail service. They have a mail boat that goes around the perimeter of the lake. And you can volunteer for it. Basically, the boats slow down as they cruise past private docks. You're up near the bow of the boat. You jump off onto the dock, run as fast as you can to the mailbox, put the mail in, turn around, and run back to the boat. And then jump on the boat. And hopefully you get back to the boat before it leaves, or before it gets far enough away that when you jump, you don't land in the lake. But that's what he was there talking about. That was the famous Lake Geneva thing. But I don't think any of that stack up to being the birthplace of Dungeons and Dragons, and it's finally getting known. Paul has told me about the table they're doing that's going to have the 3D, basically carving, as it were, of the first level of Castle Greyhawk, and the benches, and Gary's hand extended so you can put a die in it, and Gary gets the first die roll. Like, his hand doesn't move or anything like that. You just lay your die in it, and it's tilted in such a way that it will fall out, clatter onto the table, and you can sit there and you can run a D&D adventure on Gary's Greyhawk map in 2-inch sections. So I think that's absolutely wonderful. Michael believes they had that in the Everglades back. I could see it. I mean, there's a Geneva, Florida. If you, okay, getting hyper obscure here. I've talked about this before, but the town where my wife and I were married is called Mount Dora, Florida. And it is kind of hilly compared to the terrain around it. But if you're from a place that has proper hills and you come here, you're going to be like, everything here is flat. Why did he say it's hilly? If you've lived in Florida your whole life, you're like, oh, this is hilly. So, so my wife and I got married there in 99. Fast forward to 2005, our first trip ever to Lake Geneva. We got there at night, got settled in our hotel, got up the next morning, explored the town a little bit before, I did the gaming stuff, or maybe it was after, I don't know. We were like, holy crap. This is like a hilly Mount Dora. Like, if you stood someone in Mount Dora and snapped your fingers and teleported them to Lake Geneva and say it was spring in Florida, and they opened their eyes, there would be a good bit when they thought they were still in Mount Dora, or vice versa. So it's very, it's very interesting. Do you want to visit Lake Geneva, Gary Con? Yeah, I think so, Jim. Maybe do Gary Con like as a second trip. Your first trip, go to Dragon Days or go to Egg Con. That's just my recommendations. Dragon Days or EdCon? Midwest people think Southerners are dumb. I found people in Wisconsin to be very, very nice. Everybody I talked to when I went to GaryCon in 2018, the bartender at the Grand Geneva, the parking lot guys at the Grand Geneva, random people in various locations around Lake Geneva, either they were from Florida, they had kin in Florida, or they had a house in Florida. The Florida-Wisconsin connection is strong. Yeah, Claricon. Absolutely, Mage's Musings. Claricon should be on your bucket list. No, it should just be on your list. No buckets. It should just be on your list. But I want to address something real quick here. Michael Connor brought this up earlier. I'm slamming it into from like first to fourth, so get ready for this. Michael says apparently Exo Squad Robotech line was solid. Yes, I have three. Two or no? I have three Exo Squad Robotech Macross toys. Do you guys want to see them? I'll go get them if you want to see them. Ironcaster! Happy birthday! Big shout out to Ironcaster. Hot damn. Ironcaster. Happy birthday to Ironcaster. So anyway, yeah, it was my birthday and I was like, and you hit 7. Damn, dude, that's awesome. You're Diecast Ironcaster here on YouTube, right? Go subscribe to Ironcaster's channel, everyone. Oh, you taking off graph paper? Okay, gotta eat. All right, absolutely. Take care. But anyway, Michael Connor wants to see them. So there's a request. He's Diecast Ironcaster, I think, here on YouTube. Anyhow. So let me show you guys. These are the Macross toys I've got, and they're dusty. They're going to be dusty. I apologize. I'll get them. All right, so here we go. So I have a Tomahawk. This is, if you're a BattleTech fan, you'll know this is a Warhammer, except the Tomahawk in Macross has a lot more firepower. So you can see, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got a lot of points of articulation, and it's pretty sturdy. This guy's like 25 years old. Of course, you got to have the classic, the Radar X, and these are not missile launchers. These are actually ammo loading bays. I thought that was a nice touch, and his radar does turn around. Again, lots of points of articulation. The Rifleman in classic BattleTech. And last but not least, I have this guy, the Longbow, as he's called in BattleTech, but he is the Phalanx, is what he's called, the Phalanx. And it doesn't really have as many points of articulation. I can't remember if the back opens or not. I don't think it does, and I don't feel like tearing it off and finding out the hard way it's not supposed to. But the missile pods turn up and down, and the legs move and so on. So they're pretty solidly made toys. But anyway, so here's the kind of the story, kind of the rundown. This is a long and winding tale, and I like telling it a lot. But I mean, it really comes with just the biggest middle finger from Harmony Gold and Playmates. So when Macross hit, now robots that turn into other things had been a thing for a while in Japan. But when Macross hit, Harmony Gold, who had done some other brought some other stuff to the West, they were looking for their next big thing. However, a little gaming company in the Midwest called FASA was also looking for their next big thing. Jordan Wiseman and his dad went to Japan and saw the Macross Destroids and Veritex and the Zentradi pods and were blown away. They loved the designs. So they came back to the United States and they started looking for the person, who could they reach out to and get a license to do those things? Well, there was a company called 20th Century Imports that was importing Macross model kits into the United States. And they said, sure, you guys have got a license to use the visuals, and you can use the models, and you can make miniatures and everything else. Knock yourselves out. Kojima worked on a lot of stuff. I think, was it AD? No. Dang it. What was it? Pat Labor, maybe? I could be wrong. So almost at exactly that same time, Harmony Gold had gone to Japan and acquired the rights to Macross. And they knew that the short run of Macross would never sell as a package to independent networks, because you got to have a minimum number of episodes before anybody will invest any money in it. So they also bought Genesis Climber Mospedia and RDF Southern Cross, which are completely different shows. So they bought them all. They bought the licenses to them all, and merch. And merch. That's important. And they came back to the United States, proceeded to edit their butchered version of Macross into their butchered version of RDF Southern Cross and their butchered version of Genesis Climber Mospedia, to make a long enough continual series to sell to the United States. They did a deal with Comico to make comic books, and they cut a deal with Playmate Toys to make toys. Couple of problems. Hasbro, seeing this wave of Japanese giant robot stuff, bought up as many transformable designs as they could and made the show Transformers, which was, ironically enough, they went to Japanese animators to make their American cartoon. Jetfire is the standard Valkyrie. So with all of the toys the Playmates was able to do, they couldn't do the Valkyrie. Like the centerpiece of the damn show, the ships that all the heroes flew, because these guys, they were just in the background. They looked cool, but heroes didn't drive Tomahawks, Monsters, Phalanx, Spartans, Radar X's. No, they flew Valkyries of different stripes. Too bad Hasbro's got it wrapped up in Transformers. That's right, Jetfire was a Super Valkyrie. You are correct. I do have a few Blade Runner goodies I'll show one day, Jimmy. I do have. They even worked, Kevin Simbidia, worked closely with Harmony Gold to get the Robotech role-playing game out. Bafasa had already started making Battletech. And this infuriated Harmony Gold. Now, FASA was a small company. Let me tell you something about Harmony Gold. If you live in a big city, and I've actually seen this here in Central Florida, I was blown away and I was like, there's no way that's the same company. And when I got home, I looked it up and yes, it is. Harmony Gold gets all of their money through real estate. They're a real estate investment firm, which means they effectively have bottomless amounts of money. So Battletech's popularity is really taking off in the late 80s. And then the lawsuits start coming from Harmony Gold. As successful as Battletech was, it was not making go to court every financial quarter. And Harmony Gold was suing FASA just as and let me tell you something. FASA won every suit. FASA won every lawsuit. So, Playmates had the toy rights to the Exo Squad show. To keep churning and making money off of Robotech, they rebranded it as Exo Squad Robotech. They literally butchered in an American G.I. Joe-like cartoon into the Legendarum for a little while. No, I did not say Harmony Ginger. Harmony Gold. Different color. Both start with G. Anyway, I'm losing people watching. I guess they don't care. Anyway, so would Harmony Gold have taken TSR to court if they had owned it? Yeah, probably. Almost certainly. Finally, in the 1990s, FASA wins a lawsuit. The judge looks at the piles of evidence and dismisses all of Harmony Gold's IP lawsuits with prejudice. Now, I don't know much about lawfare, but it's my understanding that with prejudice means you can never sue this person for this again. If you try to take them to court, all they have to do is hold up the previous court thing. That if you try to take them for exactly the same thing. So FASA won. Except Playmates, who were releasing these toys, got together with Harmony Gold and they said, we're going to get them. Because one of the things that FASA had won on was that the Battletech designs, according to the judge, were at least 30% different. And if you go through the vast amount of Battletech books and look at some of the different drawing renditions, even before they completely ditched the classic designs, yeah, I mean, you get a squatter, fatter marauder. Sometimes you'd see riflemen without the radar dish or a different radar dish up there. But Harmony Gold and Playmates said, all right, we've got you. We'll see you guys real soon. At a toy fair. Now, a Battletech cartoon had come out. FASA was planning on releasing toys for, which they did. So they were at the toy fair. People alerted FASA to Playmates display. So people go over, people from the FASA booth go over and they look at the Playmates display. They had a pyramid of boxes for their next Exo Squad E-frame. And it was FASA's new iconic mech design, the Timberwolf. If you guys know the clans, the Mad Cat looks like a Marauder Catapult combination. They had copied it, stuck some Greeblies onto it, changed it by just 30%, and were getting ready. And apparently they had a whole bunch of other Battletech designs that they had changed by just 30% that they had concept art of. So they basically, without saying a word, told FASA, stop using the Macross designs or we will utterly crush you. And we'll do it legally. We'll do it the same way that you guys won. That's why there's no more Macross mechs in Battletech. Now, what pissed me off was there were also Fang of the Sun Dugram mechs and Orgus mechs. Lots of other Japanese cartoon designs that they licensed and put into Battletech. And they deleted on all of them. Then they started reintroducing their own in-house design versions of them, which I think just they don't look good. They just don't. Yep. The unseen, as they call now, they call them the re-seen. We have them again. They're just as good. No, they're not. I'm sorry. With all due respect to Dwayne Luce, who is an exceptionally accomplished technical artist, Studio News designs and other Japanese studio designs for the mecha just knock everything that they were doing into a cocked hat. And so it is because of Harmony Gold that we can't have nice things. So that is why we have an Exo Squad Robotech and all this, that, and the other. And their constant rebranding to refresh it was a bit like what they were doing with G-Force and Battle of the Planets. Science Ninja Team Gotchaman is the name of the original G-Force. And, so it was, when it came to the United States, it was Battle of the Planets. And it ran for a couple of seasons. And then they did some minor edits and re-released it as G-Force. So anyway, yeah, with Seven's Arc 7. Yeah. Kids need a cutesy robot to tell them why people on screen are dying. So Carl Maychek is like, yeah, let's have an R2D2 like thing. Anyway, so there's your yes, it was added and it was strictly in the US. I'll say this. I will say this. When I was a kid, like the Seven's Arc 7, what was it? One Rover One, like his robot dog. Am I remembering that right? Yeah, One Rover One. Yeah. But once I got past those stupid bumpers and commercial breaks with Seven's Arc 7, and it was like, oh, I hope Jace will get out of this one. And then they'd crash cut to commercial. My little like 8 or 9-year-old brain, I was very into the serious storylines. Like, you had the love triangle with was it Jason, Mark, and was it Marie? Was it Marie? I can't remember. Just good stuff. I should sit down and watch Space Battleship Yamato one of these days. I should give it a look. Princess, thank you, Kabuki. Mark, Jason, and Princess. Love triangle. But I'll have to check that out. So there you go. Now you know the rest of the story about it's Michael Connor's fault. Okay. Michael Connor started talking about Harmony Gold Playmate stuff. And I just had to jump in and tell that story because it makes me sad. And we were like the Japanese. Okay. If you go on Amazon and you try and buy a resin, I don't mean resin like the stuff I 3D print. I mean like model plastic. They call those resin kits. You want to buy I'd like a badass looking Valkyrie, like a Valkyrie or a super Valkyrie or an armored Valkyrie or something like that to put together and to put on my desk. Ha ha ha. That's going to cost you a whole lot of money. Because of the legal wranglings between the people that own Macross in Japan and Harmony Gold getting that stuff in the United States, it's like pulling hen's teeth. Yeah, but it stands up on its own as a not spoof, Michael. I quite like it. I had Micronauts too. I quite liked my Micronauts. Now I do have some STLs. I was mentioning earlier about, this guy that I knew once upon a time. I do have a Mac 2 monster, kit that I can print up one day, and I might. Yeah, Robert, I think so. I think Keop was supposed to be a synth, for lack of a better term. I think they kind of steered away from the deep drama of the fact that, Keop will never have a normal childhood, but he'll also never grow up. There was a bit where obviously they had to really soften it, where a a character, not one of the main characters, but they met someone, and her son had run away. Well, I mean, obviously the kid probably got killed by Zoltar's forces, but the mom was like doting on Kiop, and he had to go back with the team, and her heart got broken again. That I don't know about, Kabuki. Ironcaster, reach out to me. My socials are right down there. That is my email address if anyone wants to talk to me in email. But anyway, I do have some Macross STLs. I've got a transformed Super Valk somewhere over here. And the same day that I bought these guys, I bought my I bought my Super Valkyrie toy. It was before the toys and the kits started costing hundreds of dollars because Harmony Gold sucks. I was super duper hoping that when the license lapsed, that Big West, Studio New, and Bandai could put their heads together and get the IP back and start treating it with the respect it deserved. But apparently Harmony Gold pointed a flamethrower at their heads, or had a super tanker full of $20 bills and sailed it up to their building in Tokyo, because their license and partnership has been renewed. So we're stuck with Harmony Gold for another 30 years. I remember Jason had a minigun in the nose of his car. I remember being a big deal. Like, he had to snipe a guy. So he literally just like leaned down. He like flipped open the ammo feed and loaded a single bullet in. But anyway, yeah, it's just about all I got tonight, guys. I just kind of wanted to chew the fat and talk about what we had coming tomorrow. And any D&D questions at all? Anybody got any D&D stuff they want to bounce off of me before I wrap it up this evening? Before I pack it up, pack it in, let the show in? Not the whole show. The most notable change in his character Kiop. Jinping, who picked up a bizarre verbal tick of stuttering, chirping, and burbling every time he started to speak. It's a long-standing fan rumor that he's doing this because the character spoke profanity, and his mouth motion cover up deleting the words. That was not true, as demonstrated by an unedited gadgetman in 80 films. Jinpei rarely, if ever, used profanity. The in-story explanation is that he's an artificial life form with a speech impediment because of slightly defective genetic engineering. What is my longest D&D campaign? Mages Musings wants to know. Yes, we do, Jack. We absolutely do. Probably the Monday night game. It's been going on 10 years as of this month. 10 years. Started with just a couple of people, and we're now at 10 players. It was 12, but we've had some folks drop out. So that's what's going on. As far as length of campaign, 10 years now. Now, to be fair, to be completely honest, it's really more like 4 and 6, because we had when we were just like 5 or 6 players, we had a night where like 3 people couldn't show, and I was bound and determined to play some D&D. So I said, okay, roll up some ad hoc characters and we'll just play those tonight. And we ended up playing them for a couple of weeks before everybody got back. And the players who'd been playing wanted to do that. So we paused the other campaign with the intent to come back to it. And it's now just been going for years and years now. Good night, Chris. Michael Connor wants to know, any chance of doing a deep dive on Jovian Chronicles? I gotta say, I don't think I own Jovian Chronicles, and I only like doing deep dives on stuff that I actually have physical copies of. So, I mean, if I had them, maybe I'll have to dig through. They might be on a shelf over here or something. Because understand, I got a friend's entire RPG library when he passed away. So I certainly wouldn't say no. I would probably sooner, not like by preference, like I'd sooner do this, but what would probably happen first is I would do like the silhouette system through Heavy Gear, because I have just a crap ton of Heavy Gear books. No, I sure didn't, Michael. Yes, Michael Connor. Sorry, Michael Dale, Michael Connor. Yes, Michael Connor. I have Heavy Gear. Do I have it where I can grab it? Yeah, here we go. I'm looking at a huge sheaf of books. There's the Heavy Gear core book. This is Heavy Gear, A New Era Has Just Begun. And it's the core silhouette rules and construction rules and all that lovely jazzmatazz, field guides. Is there an adventure? Yeah, there's an adventure in here called When All Hell Breaks Loose. So that's it. I used to have a lot of Northern and Southern Heavy Gear minis when Rapham did them. You know, the big ones that were like that tall. Now I have a bunch of the tiny ones, little like 25 millimeter ones. So Heavy Gear started as a non-collectible card game by DreamPod 9, and they called it the Heavy Gear OVA. Original video animation were shows in Japan like Bubblegum Crisis, AD Police, Mad Bull, things like that might have 2 or 3 episodes. They weren't released in theaters and they weren't released on TVs. They were direct to videos, original video animation. And so they released their card game in a box, and it looked like a mecha OVA, and it was not collectible, although they did release a couple, like a volume 2 that was additional cards. And then there were some cards they put in a magazine, a fanzine they published called Mecha Press. Shinchara, I'm going to come back to that. Anyway, so people were like, please release a tabletop game of this. Please do a tabletop game. And they were doing powered armor stuff for Artalsorian at the time, because Artalsorian had Mekton, and the Jovian Chronicles setting, they basically, they were putting that out in the Mekton system, but they found it wasn't flexible enough. So they unleashed Heavy Gear. Now, this was in the go-go 90s when giant robot anything was big. So out of Heavy Gear, we got an animated series and a couple of computer games, each one of which had expansions. But then it vanished almost as quickly as it got here. DreamPod 9 is still around, but it seems like they just kind of imploded. I don't really know what happened to them. I don't really know what went on. Actually, given the size of the mecha, the ice engines, the V engines they call them, which I'm not going to go into the details of trying to explain right now, it makes perfect sense. Their stuff was eminently practical, and they started with a realistic baseline for armor and weapons damage multipliers. So you can build an Abrams tank. You can realistically do Abrams tank versus T-72 with their system. But unlike Battletech, which was just armor just falls off. But the thing is, Gears, despite being very cool, are more like upright anthropomorphic gun jeeps. If they try and go toe-to-toe with the main battle tank, they're going to lose. If they get hit with an anti-tank guided missile fired by an attack helicopter, they die. But they do have a practical application. It's not like Battletech where you're like, I'm taking damage and pieces of my mech are flaking off, but I'm still in the fight. It's like, I got hit and it bounced off. I got hit and moderately damaged, or I got hit and destroyed. It is a very deadly system. So Shinchara asks, for first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, 4 die 6, discard lowest, arrange to taste. Original D&D, that's not an option. 3d6 down the line. Strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, charisma. And somebody asked me the other day why it was strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity. Why not just group all of the health stuff and all of the minds, the body and the mind? Strength, dex, con, Wiz, int, charisma, because that's dumb. Strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, charisma. But, and I was like, of course, that makes perfect sense. The prerequisite for fighter is strength. The prerequisite for magic user is intelligence. The prerequisite for cleric is wisdom. Fighter, magic user, cleric, strength, intelligence, wisdom. Yes, Mage, that is a good observation. Hey, Wheeling Dragon, how are you? Well, I was talking about winding down, but I got a second wind now. Yeah, Palladium seems to make sense until you start taking a much closer look at it, and then you're like, wait a minute. So the explanation in Robotech, which is the only Palladium system game I've ever played, the explanation in Robotech is, so imagine you're in a tank. And somebody comes along and they start bouncing a rubber ball off your tank. They can do it all day long. It will not phase your tank. No matter how hard they throw that rubber ball, it won't phase it. Now imagine they pull out a baseball bat and they start beating on your tank. Other than slightly scuffing the paint, again, it's not going to do any damage. That is SDC. Right? Have I got that? Now, they pull up with a machine gun and they start hosing the front of your tank. And it starts pecking and dinging, but it's still not doing major damage to your tank. That's a whole lot of SDC. Suddenly, a car pulls up and they fire a bazooka at your tank. That actually does damage. That's MDC, mega damage. And I was like, that makes perfect sense. It doesn't matter how powerful an SDC weapon is. It can't do mega damage. It can't damage, you can fire a 12 gauge shotgun at the side of a battleship all day, every day for 10 years. And it's never going to do anything. Chip the paint off. Yeah. Because that shotgun is only ever firing standard, even if you put deer slugs in it, and they're doing a whole lot. But now back up 2 kilometers and fire a Maverick missile. How the battleship's going to pay attention to you? And it makes sense, but apparently, like, in play, it actually just, like, it doesn't work as well. But I've never actually played the Palladium system, so. I do know that when they started releasing does I remember my buddy Matt, the same guy, Matt, who's Mac 2 toy I broke. When they released was it the Invids source book or the Southern Cross? I don't remember. That there was so like the big cannons on the back of the SDF-1 fire an energy bolt. It's the reflex cannon. And one of the later expansions introduced reflex pistols as basically just a blaster a normal person can carry that does MDC. So, it's just like, and because all the systems are supposed to be universal and you could have vampires and, you could potentially have your Macross crew go through a rift and wind up fighting vampires in Transylvania. Yeah, but a vampire can do MDC. So a vampire could be punching your Valkyrie to pieces. It's ridiculous. MDC can, yeah, wasn't it like 1,000 to 1 or something, Mead? Everybody wanted to be a glitter boy. Oh yeah. Oh, that's so weird. So apparently the last Windows updates done on the Studio PC, this is not a horror story. 100 to 1. Okay. This is not a horror story, but the last time I rebooted this PC, it installed a lot of stuff by default. I made sure the telemetry was turned off, but I didn't make sure that like some quality of life things were turned off. So it literally just slightly dimmed my monitors for me. It's like, oh, you're probably going to go to bed soon. Let me just take a little bit of the blue light out of it. I just thought that was funny. But anyhow, so anyway, but back to giant robot stuff. Yeah, I might do a heavy gear deep dive one day. I'd have to get my hands on the books. They could be in a tote around here. So I don't think so. For Jovian Chronicles. It's my understanding. Okay, I realize that this is probably going to go past people, and I, at the risk of losing you, but it's my understanding that so heavy gear is one of the fun things. If you guys don't do giant robot games, if you never did giant robot games, one of the fun things about giant robot games is making your own giant custom giant robots. And in heavy gear, there's a design system, but it's tilted in such a way that you're not going to make like a Robotech mech, a Macross Destroid, or a Valkyrie or anything like that. Because they've got a lot of stuff on lockdown. Like they have classes of weapons. They've got heavy anti-tank missiles, light anti-tank missiles, light rocket packs, heavy rocket packs, medium rocket packs, mortars, field guns, which are like a tank gun, that sort of thing. Those are all pre-built for you. All those weapon systems. You just pay the points to put them on to your heavy gears frame. But apparently in Jovian Chronicles, they have the basic stuff that's in this book, but they also do the whole, like, well, maybe you want your giant mech suit that flies in space to have a linear gun, a linear accelerator gun that can punch through a starship. So you can design your weapons from the ground up rather than just bolting on the pre-created weapons. So that's something interesting. And again, I don't know that I have the books. If they are, they're in a box around here somewhere. But I could be coerced into doing that probably. Hell, I could put mecha into D&D. Or a Battle or Dunbean, anyone? Biological mechs. How do they balance things? You want a Death Star super laser? It comes down to actual cost, like what resources do you have? In heavy gear, the more stuff you put on your gear, the more design flaws you're introducing into it. So you're like, I want a mech that goes 70 miles an hour, has 800 millimeters of armor, and mounts 2 very large field guns. It's basically like 2 Abrams tank cannons on there. And, I want it to be stealth and this, that, and the other. You can bolt all those systems on. It's just there's such a trade-off on the backside that the thing like catches fire and burns to the ground the minute you turn the engine system on. In Jovian Chronicles, it literally comes down to money. It's like, I want a Death Star laser. That's nice, Your Highness. We're working on actual designs here, Let me see if I can find this real quick. And I will show you guys. See if I can find some images in there. Of course, they're all character portraits. Oh, it's not too bad. This is on IMDb. Present, share screen, window, there, and add to stage. So that is basically alive. The danger for a pilot of one of these things is if its armor is pierced, they could potentially drown in blood if they can't get out in time. Goldenrod AD&D character sheets. Yes, I do have some kicking around here somewhere. Madirishman.net, that's mad-irishman.net, has a fillable PDF of them. So if you want to grab his, fill them out on your PC, and then print them out on goldenrod paper, which you can buy sheaves of goldenrod paper from our friends at Amazon. You can, to your heart's content. Let's see, any other good stuff there? Yeah, there's some more. There's a living mech behind them. That's an advertisement. Characters. Another living mech. Oh my. I got some fan art. Yeah, definitely some cheesecake fan art got into IMDb. Some animation cells. So yeah, it's D&D with mecha. I don't, Kabuki, are you out there? You're being requested. Yeah, there are too many characters on the golden. Let me tell you what, the best character sheet is a blank piece of lined paper. Honestly, that's the best character sheet. Or type it up in Notepad or Word, just from scratch, because there's not enough room. I have the Armory character sheets, which were clearly done on like an IBM PC, maybe using WordPerfect 1.0, and it's the same thing. There's not enough damn room on those character sheets. Jimmy Invictus, I have not. I have not seen that game in human conditions. Sounds interesting, though. Sounds very interesting. And I mean, you know, I get that having like a fighter, ranger, and paladin character sheet, the same character sheet, is probably a little more efficient from a design standpoint for TSR. But at the same time, the space you could have saved by not having ranger stuff and paladin stuff on the same sheet as fighter stuff. Yeah, you're wrong. There you go. You're wrong. You're right. Characters, I mean, 3x5 cards. You know, you can do an OD&D character on a 3x5 card. 6 stats, 3d6 times 10 gold. And then on the back, you list your treasure and XP. There you go. That's how you roll that. No pun intended. That's how you do that. But yeah, I think that does just about do it for me tonight, guys. Any questions in parting before I scoot on out of here? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Because I'm gonna slide on out of here otherwise. See what you did. We just talked about Japanese robot stuff. Graph paper architect. Tunnels and Trolls 3x5 card. Yup. All right, everyone. Tomorrow night, and the time will drop tomorrow about when it's going to happen. Rob Kuntz will be here. You are not prepared. It's going to be a lot of fun. So please take care until then. Be good to one another. And I will get you, by the way, Graph Paper Architect, I will get you the info early tomorrow about when Rob is going to be on. So fear not. But you know what you should fear, guys? You know what you should absolutely, positively, unquestioningly be afraid of? You should be afraid of the dread owl bears. Watch out for them. I love you all. Peace. Good night.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere, in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around, some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle, way off course? Naked as a toad, all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dance